De-escalation file loading.
My de-escalation story involves a former client and his company that we were defending in what you could call high-stakes litigation. It was civil litigation brought against the CEO and his company, and while it was not a criminal case, so there was no jail time, a jury verdict against the company and the CEO would mean the end of the company. So it was really what we call a bet the company litigation.
When you encounter a high-stakes or high-stress situation, your body, driven by your amygdala, prepares you to face a challenge. However, this prepared response, often referred to as fight, flight, or freeze, is primarily a physical response. This is helpful when a physical response is implicated. For example, if a surge of adrenaline helps you rescue a child trapped under rubble, or helps you outrun a dangerous animal. But what if the necessary response isn't physical at all? What if the task at hand requires executive functioning, such as public speaking or discussing details of a traumatic event? Unfortunately, although fight, flight, or freeze can enhance physical response to stress, it can also correspondingly decrease cognitive response. The body's physical response to stress, such as rapid breathing and increased sweating, can make cognitive tasks such as speaking or problem solving more difficult. A person speaking under intense stress may sound erratic, may have difficulty with sequencing or logical flow of thought, may pause or experience a loss for words, or may sound audibly distressed, such as a shaky voice or combative tone. This may make it difficult to establish credibility and likability, two important components of building trust and rapport.
In working with our client, the CEO, we learned very quickly that he had propensity to become very angry and animated and combative during the litigation process. And so it was something we were concerned about heading into trial. Sure enough, the day of his testimony at trial comes, and he is being cross-examined by the plaintiff's attorney. So think about the countless courtroom scenes that we've all seen on TV and in the movies of the witness on the witness stand being cross-examined in front of the judge and jury. Well, it did not go well. As we had feared, he was angry, he was lashing out at plaintiff's counsel, he was coming across as very unlikable to the jury, and he had to be reprimanded by the judge several times and instructed to answer questions that were asked of him. So thankfully, lunch break came, and after things settled down, I asked him, tell me, what's the most important thing to you in your life? He said his family. And so I asked him, if that's the case, do you think your family is going to love you no matter what, just the same, regardless of what happens in this courtroom? And he didn't answer, but he took a deep breath, and I could tell he was becoming more reflective, and he started to calm down.
When we experience a storm of emotions, our executive functioning and cognitive abilities can take a battering. How can we calm the storm and restore our higher mental functioning? One strategy is to deploy an anchor. Examples of strong anchors include our faith or core values, our family, our sense of self-worth or self-identity, or our why. By focusing on what is most important, we can have a better sense of perspective on our current circumstances. We are reminded of what is most true of ourselves beyond the present conflict. Anchoring also helps shift our mind's gears to facilitate better cognitive functioning. This shift is likely caused by how, and more importantly, where, our brains process different inputs. As we've learned, fight, flight, or freeze is a physical response triggered by the part of the brain known as the amygdala. But our executive functioning, like speech and reason, is primarily located in the prefrontal cortex. Stress, anxiety, and fear can divert neurological resources away from the prefrontal cortex and to the amygdala, which signals the body to release hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. Anchoring, or focusing on something of fundamental importance, redirects resources back to the prefrontal cortex by engaging areas within the prefrontal cortex such as the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, where sense of self and core beliefs are processed, or the anterior lateral prefrontal cortex, where we process our projections of the future.
And as we entered the courtroom for the afternoon session and his continued testimony, I kind of just nodded at him in a way to try to comfort him and calm him down. The afternoon went much better than the morning. He was calm, collected, answered questions in a straightforward manner, and even made a few jokes in front of the jury and left the jury with a favorable impression. And as it turns out, we won the case.
De-escalation complete.